Take a look at this old warhorse. A GT Ricochet, a classic from back in the day, now showing every single one of its hard-ridden miles. Covered in grime, sporting more scratches than I can count, it's clear this rig has seen better days. But beneath that dirt and those scars lies a legend waiting to be reborn. My first order of business? Tackling the most basic needs, a seat post. Turns out the seat post that came with this was undersized. After a bit of research, victory, a 26.8mm post from Amazon, the exact right fit. It's a small win, but trust me, it's the first step in bringing this GT back from the brink. Alright, with the correct seat post installed and the bike in the stand, it's time to get the rear wheel off. First things first, a quick shift into the smallest cog makes things a bit easier. Next up, those trusty V-brakes need to be disconnected, giving us some clearance. A few turns of the quick release skewer and a gentle tug, the rear wheel is free from the dropouts, one step closer to getting this GT rolling smoothly again. Moving to the front end, it's time for the front wheel to come off. Just like the rear, the V-brakes are disconnected without issue, but then the familiar twist of the quick release skewer meets an unexpected resistance. Someone has clearly had their way with this thing and tightened it way beyond reason. Time for a bit of old school persuasion. A flathead screwdriver finds its way in, used as a lever to try and break it free. It budges, but it's still stubbornly tight. Okay, a new approach needed. Grabbing the pliers, I go for the bolt on the opposite side, hoping to relieve some of that tension. Finally, after a bit of wrestling, the front wheel is free. Honestly, you wouldn't believe the battles that some of these bikes have gone through. Alright, with the wheels out of the way, it's time to tackle these V-brakes. Ah, V-brakes, a huge leap forward from their finicky cantilever ancestors. This is where the stopping power got real for mountain bikes. The process is pretty simple. We've already disconnected the noodle here, which lets the brake arms spring free. Then it's just a matter of unscrewing the bolts that hold the brake arms to the brake bosses on the frame. And yes, a pro tip, always save the noodle. We'll want to reuse that during reassembly. A quick look at these brake pads confirms what I already suspected. They're worn way down and definitely past their prime. Looks like a new set just got added to the parts list for this Ricochet. Next up, it's time to get this old chain off. A quick shot of WD-40 on a pin gives the chain tool a fighting chance. With the tool engaged, I slowly push the pin out. A little bit of force, a few turns, and there it is, that satisfying click as the chain separates. With the pin pushed out, I unravel the chain from the drivetrain, letting it spin freely off the cogs. One less grimy piece to worry about. Now it's time to get this old derailleur off. First, I'll loosen the cable anchor bolt and free the shift cable. With the cable out of the way, it's just one bolt holding the whole unit to the frame. I'll get in there with the proper Allen key and give it a few turns, and just like that, the derailleur comes free. You can see the wear on this thing, but it's still a solid piece of gear. Alright, time to get this front derailleur off. I'm going for the clamp bolt first. That's a classic amateur mistake. You see, I forgot to deal with the cable. No problem. I'll just backtrack a bit and grab my cable cutters. There we go. With one snip, I free the tension. A quick and easy fix. Now back to that clamp bolt. A few turns, and just like that, the whole assembly slides right off. Another piece removed. Another step closer to stripping this frame down to its bare essence. Next up, the crank arms. Now, this is a classic example of old school tech where you actually need the right tool for the job. None of this hammer and hope nonsense you see with some modern bikes. We'll start with the drive side. Remove the main bolt first. With that out of the way, it's time for the star of the show, the crank puller. This is a critical step. So make sure you thread it on completely and snug it down tight. You don't want to strip these threads. It's an amateur mistake that's an absolute nightmare to fix. With the puller on, I'll thread in the extractor, tighten it down, and with a satisfying pop, the crank arm comes free. It's just a matter of repeating the process on the non-drive side, and we're getting closer to a bare frame. Alright, time to tackle the heart of the bike, the bottom bracket. First things first, this thing's a mess, caked on grease and dirt. We'll get that cleaned up so we can get a good grip on our tool. This appears to be a sealed cartridge bottom bracket, and let me tell you, it's probably been in there for 30 years. To get this off, we're not taking any chances. I'm going to use some large washers and a crank arm bolt to hold my tool securely in place. With the tool secure, it's time for some serious leverage. We'll use my adjustable wrench and a long breaker bar to get this thing moving. There we go. With a loud groan, it finally breaks free. The rest is just a simple matter of unscrewing it. The non-drive side cup should come out with minimal effort, and just like that, our frame is almost bare. With the noodle and the cable already out of the way, it's just a matter of removing these two V-brake arms. Starting on the right side, I'll get the Allen key into that single bolt that holds the arm onto the fork boss. It's a beautifully simple design, just one solid pivot point. A few turns and the entire brake arm is free. The same process goes for the left side. One bolt, a quick turn, and it's off. Taking a closer look at these pads on both arms, you can see how worn down they are. This bike didn't just sit in the garage, it was ridden, and it was ridden hard. Looks like a second set of pads just got added to the parts list. With the crankset and brakes out of the way, it's time to tackle the front end. We're removing the stem and handlebars as one unit, which, in my opinion, is one of the more satisfying parts of working on these old bikes. Once the spacers are gone, it's time to bring out the hammer of persuasion. A good whack to the top of the steer tube, and the wedge-style stem pops right out, freeing the fork. The wedge and top bearings come out without a fight, but down here at the bottom, the bearings are being stubborn. I'll reposition the frame to get a better angle, and there it is, a dust cap that's been holding them hostage. A quick pop and the bearings finally surrender, leaving us with a completely bare frame. Now we can get this Ricochet the full deep cleaning it deserves. Take a good look at this. The before shots of our derailleurs, caked in years of road grime and dried up grease. You can barely see the logos and the original finish. This is what you get after years of neglect. Just look at that, clean, shining, and looking like it could have rolled off the factory floor. This is what I love about these old components. They aren't disposable junk. They're built to last. All it took was some time and care to bring these derailleurs back to life. Now it's time to install the bottom bracket. This is one of those simple jobs that's incredibly easy to get wrong, so we're going to take our time. First, let's get a nice even layer of grease on the threads inside the frame. This prevents corrosion and makes sure the next guy working on the bike doesn't have a nightmare trying to remove it. Next, we'll install the main cartridge on the drive side. And here's the crucial detail for anyone working on these old bikes. It's left-hand threaded. That means you tighten it by turning it counterclockwise. This was a genius piece of old-school engineering. The forces from pedaling actually work to keep the bottom bracket tight. We'll get it hand-tight first, then use our adjustable wrench to snug it down securely. Finally, we install the non-drive side cup. This one's a standard right-hand thread, so we'll tighten it clockwise until it's locked down. Just like that, the new heart of our bike is in place, solid and ready for the next 30 years of riding. Alright, with the bottom bracket securely in place, it's time to put the cranks on. Now, this is a topic that can start a fight in any bike shop, but I'm going to put a light coating of grease on the spindles. I know some of you will say, no grease, but in my experience, it's the best way to prevent corrosion and a seized crank arm down the road. With that out of the way, we'll slide the drive side crank arm onto the spindle, making sure it's seated correctly. Next, we'll get the crank arm bolt in there and tighten it down firmly. You want it nice and snug, but don't go crazy with the breaker bar. We'll repeat the exact same process for the non-drive side, and just like that, the crankset is ready to roll. Time for the front derailleur. We'll slide the clamp around the seat tube and get it snug, but not completely tight. This gives us some wiggle room for adjustment. First up, we'll need to get the cage perfectly parallel with the chain rings. A quick glance from above confirms it's good. Now for a quick test. Manually shifting the derailleur, it's clear the height is off. It's just not clearing the teeth on the big ring. No big deal. We'll loosen the clamp and slide the whole thing up a few millimeters, then recheck that it's parallel. Let's try that again. Perfect. This is the beauty of these old mechanical parts. They may take a little patience, but the fix is always a simple, hands-on adjustment. Now that it's right, we can lock it down completely. Now for the rear derailleur. This is a testament to what's great about old bikes, a simple, solid, bolt-on design. The first thing is to carefully align the derailleur bolt with the hanger on the frame. The last thing you want is a cross-threaded bolt. So get it started slowly to make sure it's perfect. Once it's started, I'll screw it down. Now, I want to manually check the range of motion, making sure it swings smoothly through its full range. Everything looks good. Now I can give that bolt a final, firm tightening. The rear derailleur is on, and the guts of this drivetrain are coming together perfectly. Alright, with the rear derailleur in place, it's time to get this wheel with this cassette back on. This is one of those simple pleasures of a classic bike. Just a matter of sliding the axle right onto the dropouts. No fumbling with through axles, no messing with pinch bolts, just a straightforward, reliable design that has worked for decades. Time for the final piece of the drivetrain puzzle, a new chain. I'll carefully thread it through the front derailleur, then over the cassette, and through the rear derailleur's pulleys. Now for a crucial check, proper length. It's a little too long, so I'll take a few links out with my trusty chain tool. With the length just right, I'll use a quick link to join the ends together. This is a far sight better than messing with those old school pins. A couple of easy turns of the cranks confirms everything is spinning smoothly. Now for the rear V-brakes. You always want to start by putting a light coat of grease on the brake bosses. It's an often skipped step, but it's crucial for smooth action and to keep the parts from seizing. I'll slide the right brake arm on and, not much spring tension there. These old parts sometimes need a little extra persuasion. No problem, a little manual bending of the spring and it feels much better. That's the beauty of working on these old bikes. A little elbow grease and you can usually get things to work. Now that the spring feels right, I'll secure the arm with its bolt. Then I'll repeat the whole process for the left side. It's time to install the headset and fork. I'll get a good, healthy coat of grease on all the bearings, top and bottom. A healthy amount of grease here goes a long way to ensure smooth steering and preventing corrosion. With the bearings prepped and in place, I'll slide the fork up through the head tube, drop in the top race, wedge, and stack all of the spacers on top. Now, while I get this dialed in, I've got a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying this old school restoration, do me a solid and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss any more Retro Grouch restorations. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and if you really feel like supporting the channel, a super thanks would go a long way. Okay, back to it. I've slid the stem and handlebars over the steer tube. Now it's just a matter of tightening the stem cap to set the preload on the bearings. This is a Goldilocks situation. You don't want it too loose because that would cause play. You don't want it too tight, this would bind things. You want it just right. With that sorted, I'll tighten things down, and just like that, we're one step closer to a completed build. With the headset and fork installed, it's time to put the front V-brakes on. First things first, a light coat of grease on the brake bosses. This is an easy way to ensure smooth movement and make sure they don't get seized up years from now. With that done, I'll slide each arm onto its correct boss. A quick check of the spring, and it's time to snug things down with the mounting bolts. A simple, solid setup. Now we're at the cockpit. Before I drop more money on new shifters, I'm going to see if I can save these integrated units. First things first, I've removed the old frayed brake cables and got them out of the way. With them gone, it's time for the real work. I'll open these up by removing these two tiny screws. These are easy to lose, so take care and keep track of these. With the screws gone, I can now remove the cover exposing the insides. And as you can see, this old grease has gummed up and caused what I like to call sticky shifter syndrome, making them practically useless. To fix this, I'll use some Dawn Power Wash and scrub the insides with a toothbrush. Now, with the mechanism clean and free, I'll run a new cable through, put the cover back on, and we'll find out if these old shifters still have some life left in them. Now for an important piece of the drivetrain puzzle. I'll thread the new shift cable through some fresh housing, route it along the frame towards the rear. Then I'll run the cable through the last bit of housing and get it secured to the anchor bolt on the rear derailleur. With the cable tensioned, it's a matter of a few quick adjustments. This is where the old school magic happens. And just like that, we've got crisp, smooth shifting. There's no better feeling than a well-tuned mechanical system. It's a testament to the fact that you don't need a computer to get a clean shift. Just a little patience and a bit of know-how. The GT is one step closer to riding again. Next, it's time to get the front end of the drivetrain working. I'll thread the new shift cable through its fresh housing and route it down to the front derailleur. With the cable in place, I'll secure it to the anchor bolt. A couple of tweaks here and there, and just like the rear, we've got smooth, crisp shifting. It's a testament to the beauty of a simple, cable-actuated system. The drivetrain on this old GT is back to life and running like a dream. With the drivetrain working like new, it's time to get some serious stopping power back on this bike. I'll thread its new brake cable through the fresh housing and route it towards the rear V-brakes. Once the cable is at the back, I'll get it threaded through the noodle, then secure it to the anchor bolt on the brake arm. A quick final adjustment of the cable tension, and there it is. Real serious stopping power. This is a crucial step in getting this old GT safe and ready to ride. With the rear brakes handled, it's time for the front. I'll thread a new brake cable through some fresh housing and route it down towards the front fork. This is where you really appreciate a clean run. No kinks, no snags. Once it's in place, I'll secure the cable with the anchor bolt on the brake arm. A final adjustment of the cable tension, and just like that, we've got stopping power up front. Now we're finally getting somewhere. This old GT is almost ready to ride. With the major components installed, it's time to get the touch points on. The parts that connect the rider with the bike. First up, some good old pedals from the parts bin. Next, a fresh set of grips to give the rider a solid hold. And here's a pro tip for you. I'll use a couple of old nickels as a simple, durable bar end stop. A classic cheap fix. And now for the cherry on top. This titanium flight saddle I found. It looks cool. It's lightweight, and it's a bit of a throwback to the high-tech saddles of the era. But if I'm being honest, it ended up being one of the most uncomfortable saddles I've ever ridden. I'll keep it in for these last final shots, but I can tell you right now, it's already been replaced with something far more plush. It just goes to show you, sometimes all that fancy tech doesn't amount to a comfortable ride. Speaking of ride, how does this old GT Ricochet ride? I took it for a quick spin around the block, and it brings back memories of my first bike, a GT Crocorium. I love these old bikes. If I were to give it a ranking on my Retro Grouch scale, I would give it 7 out of 10, only because the frame is made of aluminum, it has V-brakes and not canties, and finally, I prefer a loose ball bearing bottom bracket. If you enjoyed this video, show the thumbs up button some love, and subscribe for more Retro Grouch restoration content.